Well, alright everybody, hello and welcome back to another Fix-It video. This time I have for you a Camp Chef smoker. Now this smoker actually came to me from Facebook Marketplace, where a gentleman who was actually just giving it away for free, he had bought it. It worked for a little bit. I don't remember exactly what happened. I think it just stopped heating at some point. So we contacted the company pretty immediately, and they actually sent him a new one of these whole units that run the whole thing with the auger that feeds the pellets and the heating mechanism and everything. Sent him a new one with instructions on how to install it. This is actually a brand new unit that he put in, and then it didn't work again. Something happened to it, and I don't remember the exact story, and if it started to work and then stopped, it looks brand new and clean, so it's going to be hard for me to believe that it was actually used. But either way, he couldn't get that thing to work either. Recontacted the company, ended up getting a refund for the whole thing, and they told him just to keep the unit. Here's your refund, but keep the unit because obviously something's wrong with it. And so he was just giving it away on Facebook Marketplace for anybody who wanted to tinker with it and play with it, which I did. So the nice thing about this is it comes with that brand new unit that apparently is not working. It also came with the old unit that's there, so I have some basically spare parts to do things with on this. And now we just need to kind of get into this thing and find out what's going on. So I've already, plugged it in, turned it on, and noticed that with this unit here, which let me try to bring in and show you how crystal clean this thing looks in there. I mean, it doesn't even look like there's been pellets put in there at all. I mean, it looks perfectly clean. Like, for example, this is the old unit. It was obviously used for a little bit. There's pellet, dust and everything in there, down in the auger as well. So this one looks like it did have some use. It maybe stopped working, and this new one I don't think has ever been working based on what I am seeing with it. Now, I have plugged it in, I turned it on, and the first thing that I'll notice is that when I turn it on and I go to the go through these menus and go over to the feed menu and start it, it starts a timer where it's now supposed to be feeding in the pellets. Nothing happens, nothing moves, nothing turns on. I don't know if you can see in there, the auger is down there. I don't know if it's focused, but we'll see. Yeah, the auger is not spinning. Now, I don't have one of these myself, so I don't know what is actually, completely normal with these, but what I do know is that I plugged in, let me turn this off so something's happening. If I plug in this old unit, if I plug in the old unit, readjust the camera so you guys can all see. So I got the old unit plugged in. I turn it on. It also comes to life on this screen. If I go into the menu and go to the feed, the auger does spin. It's making noise right now. I can see the auger very slowly starting to cycle and spin. So clearly something is wrong with this new one. Whether it's just that it's plugged in incorrectly, whether it was faulty from the factory when they sent it to them, that I don't know. I still haven't quite been able to figure out exactly why this one got thrown away and deemed it didn't work. I've actually turned them both on, set them to a temperature, and tested, and the heating element is down in here. I've stuck a piece of paper in there and it caught on fire, so the heating elements are working. So I don't know exactly what is wrong with this one, but I'm trusting the guy when he said something didn't work with it. Obviously he tried to use it, something didn't work. I'm going to use this one kind of as my spare parts machine if I get to the point of actually needing a spare parts machine. But what I think I want to do now is focus back on the new one that was in there and sent from the factory. See if I can remove a lot of these covers, get down to the wiring on this thing, and figure out maybe it's just not plugged in. Maybe it's not getting the right power. Maybe there's something obvious on the circuit boards that I'll see. Maybe the motor's bad. And if the motor's bad in the new one, I should be able to swap it from the old one because the old one obviously works. It spins the auger. So let me start tearing this thing down and see where we can get to in this to expose whatever I need to expose to actually see if I can get this thing working. Okay, so I've definitely found an issue. I'm not sure if it's the only issue, and I can't actually show it to you on the machine I'm trying to fix because, I'm zoomed in a little bit, but it's back there as you can see the legs of it. This is the replacement unit, or the original unit that got replaced. I was just using this as a reference point. So I was using a low contact or a no contact voltage tester because this thing runs off of 120. AC voltage is coming straight in on this cord right here from the plug, and it splits off into these different, connectors. One of the connectors goes down to here, which is the fan and the auger motor on it. So I tested it on this one. I turn it on, and when I get it to the feed position, like there's no power coming in over here. When I get it to the feed position, there is power coming in on these lines. I just wanted to make sure I was testing correctly on one that I knew worked. So I got on my back and I went under and did the same test on that one, the one I'm trying to fix, and it was getting power to the motor. So I was like, it's getting power, maybe it's a faulty motor. And then I looked closer, and down, I'll try to show you if I can, I'm not sure how to get a good angle, but the temperature sensor line for the thermocouple, or the thermistor that's on this thing to give it the temperature of what the grill is. I started looking closer and I realized it must have gotten caught up in this fan, and it has been wrapped around and around and around this fan. So I'll try to see if I can snake the camera under there in a way to show you that, and then I'm going to try to untangle it and see if that's actually what our problem is. Maybe the wires just weren't routed correctly, and that's why he said it worked for a little bit and then it stopped because they wrapped around the fan and stopped the auger from moving. So that could be as easy as this fix is. I'm not sure though. We're going to have to actually get this thing fired up, see if that fixes it, and then actually try to run it and see what happens. So let me try to get the camera in a position where I can show you this before I go through and try to actually get it corrected. Alright, so I think this might be the best that I can do. I'm just holding the camera up underneath the grill. As you can see, that is the fan that is attached to the back of the auger, and this is the wire that is wrapped around from this cable management that probably wasn't done appropriately, as it was a replacement unit, and I'm sure that he didn't know exactly how and where to route these cables. So it looks like it just got caught up in underneath that auger motor. So I've got to see how hard it's going to be to get this thing untangled. It doesn't look like it'll be that difficult. I'm hoping I don't have to take this whole thing apart. I'd rather just leave it on the grill. If I end up absolutely having to, I can take the whole thing off and flip it upside down and work on it. But I'm going to see what I can do from under here, and I will come back to you when I get this thing untangled, see where we're at. All right, check it out. I got this thing unwrapped. Obviously it's not routed. I just pulled it out of the way so it wouldn't risk getting stuck again, and I turned it on to the feed, and if you can slowly see it, that fan popped right on, and that auger is slowly moving. So here's the deal. Was that the only issue with this thing? I don't really know. I'm going to I gotta figure out how everything goes inside of this thing. I've never actually seen it functioning. I have all the pieces to it. They're just over on the table. So let me get this thing together. I'm gonna have it start feeding some pellets. I'm gonna leave the top off so I can actually see what's happening, and see what happens. See if we got a smoker. He was nice enough to send his extra pellets with it too. Obviously I don't want to do too much. I'm just wanting to watch this thing feed. It's probably going to take a while. In the meantime, I'll plug in my probes so that we get displays on there, make sure that stuff works. There we go. 2 probes. I don't know if you can see it. Both registering 57. This thing definitely seems to be working. And here we are. We got some pellets starting to feed out. So it does look like the auger is fully functional. I'm going to give this a little time to fill up that cup, probably run another feed cycle because I didn't have it on for the first 2 minutes of it. I didn't have pellets in there. And then see what happens when we try to start this thing up. All right, hopper's full. Let's, I just turned it off because I let it run for approximately the amount of time it would have been to start this thing off. So let's go to set temp feed units about, let's just set temp. Low smoke, do high smoke so I can check it out. It's going to start in 6 minutes. So now, get to see if this thing does anything. Okay, it's feeding more pellets in as it does this. I'm feeling that there's airflow in there. That's why I was putting my hand down there. So the fan that's running this thing that's supposed to, give it the everything it needs to actually be a, pellet grill smoker is functioning. Now let's just see if it actually starts burning. I can smell that's not cooking. There we go. I'm assuming I should probably shut this now. I think they're supposed to operate in the closed position. Ooh, there is flame now. Check it out. So, it appears that heating elements and everything are working as they're supposed to. The auger is still feeding as it's supposed to. I surmise that the big problem with this was just the routing of those cords, or those cables, to the thermometer that got wrapped around the auger fan and told it not to go because it was unable to go. Alright, so this thing has successfully gone up and down. It fluctuates quite a bit. It goes up to about 300 and then it drops down to about 200, but it's staying within that range. The auger keeps turning back on to put more pellets into the grill to get back up to temperature. So now I just need to run it the shutdown sequence and then let it cool down, clean it off, put all the parts back inside of it, and get this thing all buttoned up. Well, all right, I've got her all buttoned back up, put in all the loose and extra screws that hadn't been put in from the original swap over, and fired her back up, and everything seems to be working. It's slowly coming up to temperature. Just got the startup sequence. Everything's back on the inside where it's supposed to be. As you can see, there's smoke going. Yeah, I'm calling this a success. If I don't get this video posted before I get a chance to use this thing, maybe at the end you'll see a clip of me making some delicious something or other on this. Depends on what I decide to buy, and we'll see how quickly I get this video edited and if it's ready for that. So if I don't see you in just a second, thanks for watching and tune in again. But if I do happen to be able to test this thing out, hold off and let's see how that turns out. Alright, and Future Jeff here. So while I didn't record it, I did successfully use this pellet grill to cook a full chicken. It took about 2.5 hours, and besides having a problem where I wasn't paying attention to the hopper, and I left the hopper actually empty, and therefore we had a flame out situation because there was no more pellets to light on fire. I had to refill it and then feed it again to get the pellets in there. But the 2.5 hour process, besides my own mistake, was completely successful. Had a delicious chicken cooked on that thing, and it was so good. So anyways, this thing does seem to be completely functional. So I now have a pellet grill / smoker. Woo!